connects to all kinds of other devices. It connects to the traffic light, to the GPS data provider. It connects to the cars next to it from a different brand. So the way we operate today, we have data silos all over. But this will not work out. We need a neutral ground where data can move very efficiently and where data can be exchanged. In order to be exchanged, it has to have a price. So coming back to us thinking about the blockchain as a rail, as plumbing, as infrastructure for data of all sorts. It's an honor for us to collaborate in this initiative with the Block Dojo and with Capital Savvy. I've personally got to know Capital Savvy over the last few years. They have been an impeccable partner in many regards. And I'm excited about the country. I'm excited about the region. I've had the honor to visit last year in Kampala, and I was amazed by the quality of parties, people, the ambition, and also the level of quality, the talents that you have. What this now does, this infrastructure, it levels the playing field. It doesn't matter anymore where you were born, where you work from, what your background is. Not even certification matters, in my opinion, anymore. If you are driven, if you are motivated to use this, what I believe is a once-in-a-life opportunity to explore what this infrastructure can do and what it enables in terms of innovation, you will be at the forefront. Many of us are dealing with business models every day that are, I think, groundbreaking. Innovation always takes time. The market right now is stuck in a speculative bubble. That has been the same case for other innovations early on. Digital money per se is not new. There have been many efforts in the past. Blockchain as a concept is not new, but there have been multiple parts now that have found together that make this the right time to come up with ideas, come up with business models that can put you at the forefront of industries or solve problems that have existed in industries for many years. The reason I shifted is exactly that. I want to see what is possible. I want to understand how it works. I want to be able to advise others and just really create a legacy as well. This is not about money necessarily. I think it's a massive opportunity, but at the same time, it allows us to open up opportunities. And exactly this, I don't fear competition. I highly appreciate competition. And I want to make sure that no matter where you sit, where you operate from, you get the same opportunity. And with this, I hand over to our partners. Again, I'm very happy that we all met in Dubai, and it very quickly, I think we all realized that we are all like-minded. It's a young team that works together here. It's a team with a track record from different countries, different backgrounds, but with a shared value system and a shared vision. And with this, I guess I hand over to Evan from our team, who is dialing in from Hawaii, United States.
Thank you very much, Patrick, and thank you, Reginald. It's quite amazing to be here, although virtually. I hope you're all well and that you're excited for the start of the first blockchain innovation program. It is hosted by Capital Savvy, which has just been a great experience working with. And it is sponsored by the BSV Blockchain Association in partnership with Block Dojo, which you've heard a little bit about, and of course the BSV Academy. And of course, I'd like to just thank Capital Savvy for all of their great work and everyone else who's participating and sponsoring this great event. But yes, as was said, my name is Evan Freeman. I'm the Director of Education for the BSV Blockchain Association, as well as the founder of Fifth Work, a learn and earn platform that enables monetary rewards for success in educational pursuits. Africa is a land of opportunities, and it is unencumbered by the established legacy businesses that often seek to protect their own financial territory. And really the beauty of the African heart and the desire by the youth of this region to bring their creativity to bear on its most pressing issues is undeniable. And with the right blockchain knowledge and skills, Ugandans can build their nation to its fullest potential and become a model for the world. And this is really what the Blockchain Innovation Program was created for. It provides the knowledge and skills necessary for those willing to become true leaders, innovators, creators, and developers in this space through the understanding of the most effective means of utilizing the most advanced and capable enterprise-focused blockchain, BSV. So I urge you all to learn as much as you can about BSV and why its scalability, security, and usability make it an unstoppable force for growth and good in our world. And through such knowledge, you can begin to solve real problems and bring power and the opportunity to succeed to those who have traditionally been left out of the global digital marketplace. And with micropayments, which you'll learn about in this program, payment channels, and much more, there are great opportunities to build businesses based off of extremely low value payments, which until BSV has been completely impossible. So when you bring such businesses and services to scale, the opportunities to earn billions of dollars from a fractions of a cent can make even the most humble startups originating from the most austere conditions rival the greatest internet-based corporations today. And with such a mentality, there is no reason that the successors to Amazon, Google, and more cannot come from within those of you here today. With BSV, there is no more limit to what you can build, only that of your own creativity and determination. And really, some of the biggest challenges to startups are the costs associated with security and payment processing. But with BSV, you now have the capability to operate businesses with those features for essentially free to little cost. And you can do so in a way that allows you to earn immediately. Remember that for a developer and entrepreneur, a fully scalable blockchain is a tool that unlocks the potential of the internet, a potential that is unmatched in its ability to connect us all and foster growth in new and innovative ways. So we at the BSV Academy hope that you'll take up this opportunity being offered by the Blockchain Innovation Program to truly show the possibilities of what an unbounded blockchain is capable of and lead us all into a better and brighter future. So thank you and best wishes to you all. And I'm sure Jay here from Block Dojo can enlighten you guys a bit more.
Yeah, hopefully you can all hear me, fingers crossed. But yeah, good morning and well, great to see there's such a full room and so many people interested in wanting to be part of a new phase of development, a new phase of blockchain is kind of how I see it. So I'm Jay Goodroll, the managing director of Block Dojo. We are, as Patrick mentioned, a blockchain incubator. We are incredibly happy to be part of this program and with Reginald and Capital Savvy. As soon as I heard about it, I was like, right, this is something that we need to jump on board straight away and give back. We want people to be empowered. We want to democratize knowledge and democratize learning, and there's not really many opportunities to do it. What we do at the dojo is put companies through a pretty intense 12-week program. We will build out your idea that you come up with in the next 10 weeks. We will take that a step further. We will look at how to take that into the real world. We want to take the theory and everything else that you know and make it real world. We want to start to make change. We want to make it tangible. And that's where we're coming at it from. So we'll put you through an intense program. We'll get you your first mentors, advisors. We'll teach you the basics as well, like financial modeling, how to build a company out, how to analyze your financials. We'll give you access to blockchain development support. We'll give you access to designers who'll help you build your websites and go through the whole UI and UX experience for your company and for the workflow of your business, but also the websites as well. We'll also give you pitch training, make you the best version of you that can sell anything, essentially. We'll create the pitch decks with you. We'll give you even access to your first clients. And then by the end of the program, we'll also put you out to a room full of investors who will then take a look under the hood and try to understand why and what your passion is for starting the business that you're starting. And that's one of the biggest things that we do is taking everything that's theoretical and making it real, essentially, and then having people buy into that vision. And this, again, is another reason why we want to be involved. There are going to be so many interesting use cases and business models that come out of the region that we may not actually understand yet. And it's for us to then, over the next 10 weeks, track and watch and watch the development and see how we can be involved and how we can enable your businesses. Enable and empower is kind of the two things that we want to do. And then hopefully by the end of week 12, you're confident enough, you've got a business in a box that you take out to the world, and we help you to raise the funds from that stage. That is, a big benefit of us being involved. And so far in our program, we've had 17 companies go through the dojo in the last 8 months. Cohort 1, 5 out of the 8 companies that joined us are now fully funded. 3 of them are still raising their funds. The largest fundraising amount was around £500,000. So God knows what that is now, probably $500,000 in today's rate. And we've just finished cohort 2 around about a month ago. And out of the 9 companies, every single one of them has raised funds. 6 out of 9 are close to completing their full raise. So we are, as of today, 4 weeks out from when they left us, and we're almost at, we're at 66% fund completion for all of these companies. And we don't stop there, because the next program starts tomorrow. So we're constantly going, we're constantly growing. And the benefit of you being part of us as well is we don't stop after the 12 weeks. We don't stop after we get you that first check. We then help you, within the next 12 months to then gear you up for your seed round as well. Like, we are heavily invested in you as individuals. We want to see you succeed. Every member of the leadership in the dojo takes a share in your business personally. And as a whole, the dojo takes 10% of your companies. We give you £10,000 in cash and £100,000 worth of services. So once you have gone through the program, you will have something that may have taken you 2.5 years to build if you were to do it yourself. And that is something that, honestly, money can't really buy it. And that's with having the backing of Patrick and the Bitcoin Association and Evan and Jad and everyone else that gives us all the support in the BSV ecosystem, we can escalate these businesses pretty quickly. And we look forward to receiving some pretty interesting business models and use cases in the next few weeks. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to our partners who have been able to patch in with us on Zoom. I would want to open this discussion for some questions, but I think we can hold the questions until we end. But I wanted to encourage all of you who are at the back, please, if you can come closer to fill up this at the front, it will be very, very nice, so that you do not miss out on the information that is being shared here. Segueing right into the next section of our program, we want to have a panel discussion, and I would like to invite the panelists, if they're in the building. First on the panel, we have CK Japheth, the team lead here at Innovation Village. I want to invite you to come and take a seat here on the stage as we prepare to have this panel discussion. And then we have David Gonahasa, who's the managing director. I've been corrected, it's not Tripesa, it is Tripesa. Lilian Nakasuja, who's the operations manager at Refactory. And each of them will take us through just a short introduction of their business and what it does. Then we have Edlin Murungi, the legal counsel, Yellow Card Financial, who is also here with us today. So I invite all of you to come onto the stage as we begin this conversation. And on number 5, we have Kwame Rugunda, who is the CEO of Crypto Savannah. And we can begin this amazing discussion today. Yes. Okay, so for this discussion, it's going to be Kwame Rugunda, the CEO of Crypto Savannah, who will be our moderator for this panel discussion. Just as we have said, after this panel discussion, you will be allowed to ask questions. So as the discussion is happening, I encourage all of us to get your questions ready. If something piques your interest, jot it down, and we shall provide a microphone here. I think maybe here to stand, and then you can ask the questions. Mr. Kwame, I welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bwana MC. I'd like to welcome all of us once again to this Blockchain Innovation Program. And I'd like to thank the entire team, the team at Capital Savvy, under the leadership of Reggie and Damali and the rest. I'd like to thank the team at the BSV Blockchain and the ones who are just presenting, as well as those at Block Dojo, because they are the ones who have facilitated for this event today. We're here to discuss, to actually make sense of what these people have been discussing and ask what the state of blockchain is in Uganda. This is what we're here to discuss today. And I have a distinguished panel with me this morning. I'll allow them to introduce themselves. And as they introduce themselves, I will also ask them a series of questions. And so I'm going to ask my panelists to introduce themselves, to tell us who they are, the organizations they work for, and specifically what they do at these organizations. We'll start with Edlin, and then we can move the microphone down.
Good morning, everyone. I should have sat the other side because they've started with me, and I don't know if I'm ready. So my name is Edlin Murungi, and I am that person you call when you've killed someone. Okay, I initially wrote that as a snippet for my blog, and I was like, for real, I'm a lawyer. So yes, I'm a lawyer, and I studied here in Uganda. I have worked here most of my life. I'm currently working as the legal counsel at Yellow Card Financial. I supervise East Africa, so I oversee Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and South Sudan. Yellow Card Financial is a fintech company with presence in more than 16 African countries. And essentially, they operate mostly crypto exchange, but they also do crypto payments and other products if you've used the app or the web. The vision is financial inclusion for all, and like most fintechs, to reach the unbanked. When you ask me what I do, I think the opening line essentially said what I do, but instead of when you've killed someone in terms of a person, we try to save companies from death. So, or in case death is going to happen to them. So I'm a legal person. Most people find us boring. Yes, someone give me eyes. People find us boring, but I do all things legal, from regulatory strategy to, especially in a space that's very uncertain, to also basic generic things like contracts and things like that. For the companies, the employees, the officers of the company. So essentially, that's what I do. I think I've been very brief for a lawyer. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is David Gonahasa. I lead the team at Tripesa. It's actually pronounced Tripesa, not Tripesa, just saying. We are SaaS for tourism, and what we do is we've built a platform that helps SMEs in tourism, so primarily the smaller businesses, to create their own digital channels. So the idea is get online, sell online, and run your business. So you're able to build a no-code website, be able to accept payments, multi-currency payments, manage your payouts, and do your basic business management. Think of us as Shopify for tourism. Why is this relevant? Our approach is decentralizing access. In a market where you're told that the way to make tourism work is build online marketplaces, which is true to an extent, but in a market where you have very few customers, make these marketplaces sustainable. And our approach is sort of going about it the other way. Give power to the small operator, the small hotel, the small tour business. And if they're able to build capacity, you can then create into the marketplaces. We've been doing this for about a year now. This was as a pivot to something called Roundbob, which incidentally was actually an online marketplace. Super excited about what we're doing. We've been able to some, and we're seeing growth on a daily basis. So thank you for having us.
Great. You're welcome, David. Lillian?
Good morning. My name is Lillian Nakasuja. I'm an engineer. I like to call myself a technology and management specialist. I work with Refactory.
You'd like to call yourself?
Yes.
A what?
I am a technology and management specialist.
Okay.
Because I've decided to bond both things to become the person that I am. So I work with Refactory. It's a tech academy in a nutshell. We do training for all technology disciplines. So starting with software development and all the other advanced technologies that come along with that. And I guess you can already tell why we're here today, because we are in the line of training for all advanced technologies, including blockchain. So here, done.
Wonderful. Okay, I'd like to once again welcome yourselves as our panelists. The way we're going to do this is that I will ask our panel a few questions, and then I will open it up to the audience to as well ask them questions. These are experts in their industries and very seasoned leaders in the blockchain economy in Uganda. So feel at liberty to fire them any questions that you may have. I can also guarantee that they are not scammers. These are legit people. So this is the opportunity to learn as much as you like to learn about the industry. I think I'll start with my neighbor here, Edlin, who is a lawyer, so understands the landscape pretty well. I'd like to ask you to give us an overview on the state of blockchain in Uganda.
Thank you, Kwame. Kwame's question is very loaded because the biggest confusion in Uganda and the region generally is that there is a confusion between blockchain technology and crypto, or usually Bitcoin. So that's the biggest problem. So if you ask me legally, what's the state of blockchain adoption in Uganda, I will tell you it's like every other technology. It's like the internet, it's like email, or Microsoft, or any other technology that has been used before. Can you use it? Yes. Can someone stop you from using it? No. But the problem is, and is there a particular regulation, for example, for email? Yes, no. No being that there is no particular regulation for any particular technology, but there are general laws that govern technologies in general, ICT laws and things like that. But if you come to the actual question that people usually come to on crypto regulation, that is usually where the confusion comes in. So in terms of Uganda, there is no particular law on blockchain, like there is no particular law on any particular technology, essentially, because technology can be used by anyone, essentially because of innovation. But however, there are specific laws that deal with technology in general. We could start with the general ICT laws, the Electronic Transactions Act, and things like that. But those have been in place for so long, and those are not the ones that people are looking out for. People are usually looking out for the laws that are governing virtual assets or cryptocurrency. And in terms of that aspect, we do not have regulation specific regulation, let me put it that way. There is no specific regulation on virtual assets in Uganda. However, there is regulation that governs virtual assets in terms of as accountable persons, and this is specifically for the anti-money laundering laws. So under the anti-money laundering laws, I think we all know in 2019, 2020, they amended the law to include virtual asset service providers as accountable persons. So everyone keeps saying, oh, here are some of the things I want to debunk and myths and facts. What's illegal is not necessarily, what's unregulated is not necessarily illegal. There is a difference between an illegality and something that is not unregulated. So blockchain is technology, like any other. So we're going to leave that out. That's not usually what people are looking out for. And then now we move to cryptocurrency or virtual assets, because there are very many. Those are unregulated, but they are not illegal. And when I say unregulated, I mean in terms of the general law or a specific law. However, cryptocurrency or virtual asset service providers are accountable persons under the anti-money laundering laws, both the main act, the Anti-Money Laundering Act, and the regulations. And they are accountable persons like any other banks, accountants, lawyers, NGOs, anyone who provides financial services, financial advisors. So like any other person through which money goes through you, you are an accountable person. So in terms of the anti-money laundering law, they're required, 1, to register, and then 2, to provide the annual compliance reporting. If you know anything about anti-money laundering, then you have to do suspicious transactions, reporting, and things like that. So if you have virtual assets in Uganda, you are required to do that by law. However, there is no specific law in Uganda that deals with virtual assets. So that's where we are. We're now in that process of what do we want to do, what is going to happen, and I think what we have is what we call soft law. Soft law is essentially things that regulators or people in the industry have said or have written, but are not actually laws. Laws are passed by Parliament. So it's either an act of Parliament or a regulation, which is passed by the minister. But since circulars from the central bank and circulars from the Ministry of Finance, and I think the first circular we saw officially from the Ministry of Finance was, it's not illegal, but deal with cryptocurrency at your own risk. And we have seen the latest circular from the Bank of Uganda on specifically payment service providers. And that circular was targeted to payment service providers to stop dealing or so that they do not encourage cryptocurrency transactions. And there could be issues of argument in terms of law, do they have the mandate or not? But the issue is that until recently, we did not have a law for payment service providers. That's usually most fintechs. And that space was governed by the mobile money guidelines. If some of you knew about them, that was essentially the space for so many years. And in 2020, we got the mobile money, the National Payment Systems Act, and shortly after the regulations. And through that, the central bank now has mandate over payment service providers. And usually now that's where some virtual asset service providers are being managed. And the answer is you find most fintechs, cryptocurrency virtual asset service providers are usually in the technology space. So sometimes they might fall under that space and they could be managed if you do more than one thing, right? You're not only a virtual asset service provider or a crypto or blockchain. So sometimes you might find that they're governed under that law, but sometimes you might not find that they're governed under that law. So what we currently have is that circular from BOU on specifically cryptocurrency, not on blockchain. So you can do your blockchain. You can do, I think we're going to hear about the use cases in terms of charity, in terms of the gorilla tracking, in terms of micropayments. So some of those things you can do. But the limitation right now is the conversion of mobile money to cryptocurrency. So you can find that the other use cases of blockchain are unregulated still and not illegal. However, the specific use of blockchain in terms of cryptocurrency has a limitation in terms of law in Uganda. I think that answers most of the questions. Yes.
So, thank you, Edlin. And you have captured well on the legal side. I feel I can pass LDC now. So you've answered well on the legal side, but I'm also interested in knowing on the utility side. What is the state of blockchain adoption in terms of utility in Uganda? What are people doing? What are some of the things people can do? Can you comment on that as well?
So in terms of utility, you can say blockchain is more on the tech-savvy people. Let's put it honestly. By the time you reach the blockchain level, you have gone through the basics of technology usually, and then now you move towards usually e-commerce, and then you do digital payments, and then you end up with blockchain because you realize of all the digital payments and ways to do things, it's the most trusted, it's the easiest, it's the safest, and it cannot be changed. So in terms of utility, we have seen the commonest as being cryptocurrency, and that's usually people buying or selling, because we don't mint, I don't think we mint, I don't think we mine. And then we have also seen, most of these examples, by the way, Kwame is the best person to give them. But I will answer the question anyway. We have seen gorilla tracking, and that has been used in tourism, where they use blockchain technology. We have seen charity. Now, I think the charity case is very special because have you seen how NGOs operate people? Do you know how much money goes to overhead costs? If, for example, you see the money that the NGO receives, if you say, I manage a project of 800,000 US dollars, of 800,000 US dollars, you find that 60% of that money goes to accountants and things like that, and about maybe 20 to, I think on a high scale, about 20 to 30% actually does the actual impact. So if you're talking about impact in terms of charity, if you want to move money as a donor and you don't want those overhead costs involved, then the easiest way to do is to use blockchain technology, because it would be an instant transaction on the person who is the recipient or the beneficiary. So we have seen those charity cases in Jinja, and this is outside Uganda, but we have also seen it in South Sudan, or in places that are war-torn, and it's very hard to move money in and out. So we have seen that adoption of blockchain in those places. We have also seen smart contracts. I don't know if some of you know this. So this is where the legal side of things also might come in. Smart contracts are self-executing contracts that run on the blockchain technology. And essentially, so in real life, for example, when you want something done, you want to buy land, you come to me and tell me I want to buy land, and I have a buyer or a seller. We meet, we agree, this is the piece of land, we agree on the terms, I draft something, he reviews something, we all come to a round table, we sign, you go to your house and keep your contracts. Some people even laminate them, right? But self-executing contracts are done on the blockchain, where all these things are put in there. So the payment is done automatically. And for example, if you were supposed to pay an installment on a certain date, they would link the accounts and it would self-execute. If maybe there is a breach of contract and you have mentioned that if this happens, this event of default happens, then this would happen, then the things would automatically happen. So the contract itself is self-executing. And we have seen those cases of contracts. We have also seen utility cases in land use and land registries. So this, I think, would be the best for African countries. This hasn't necessarily been, I know there was a discussion with the registry in about 2018 when blockchain had just come up, but I don't know how far they have gone with actual adoption of using blockchain in the land registry system. And the reason was because of fraud. So the blockchain technology, I think you've heard from the beginning, is trusted, cannot be changed. So if we use that in our land systems, there has been some of these programs done in countries, I think like Zambia and Zimbabwe, and there were discussions here as well. So that could be another utility case. I don't know which other utility case I have forgotten in terms of blockchain adoption in Uganda. Most of them. So I think that's what we have seen so far in Uganda. It's not like large scale, but it is happening. And like everything else, you start small, one step at a time, right? And then you make the 1,000 steps. But if we could adopt these technologies as a country that struggles with fraud and archaic systems, I think it would really, really be helpful. Thank you, Kwame.
Thank you, Edlin. Let's move on to tourism now. We all know that tourism is one of our country's largest earners of foreign exchange. Every year, we are told it's either tourism or remittances. Okay, the statistics are already coming out. Yes. So I'd like to ask David from TriPesa to first explain to us why it's TriPesa, not TriPesa, like many people think it is. But then to also take us through how TriPesa is leveraging the capabilities of technology in order to tap into and to increase our earnings as a country in tourism. And also if there are any blockchain-specific applications that either TriPesa is involved in or has seen or he has seen happening in our tourism sector in Uganda. David, please.
Thanks. You don't call them triplets, do you? So, yeah, exactly. So the question around how we are using technology to increase earnings. For a very long time, Africa has sort of viewed tourism as the same thing. Basically, tourism is where you get a bunch of people from Europe or America coming into Africa to come and see your wildlife specifically, okay? And when you look at the numbers, France has, in 2019, France received 88 million tourists. Spain received, I think, about 77 million tourists. The whole of sub-Saharan Africa received 63 million, okay? Now, there are no elephants in France or in Spain, okay? So it's a mix of things that make these products work. So it's a mix of infrastructure, security, but eventually most of it really is storytelling. And also the fact that a lot of the source markets for these countries are regional markets. So you'll find that most tourists in France are from around Europe. Of course, eventually lots of the from China go in there as well. So for you to make tourism work in Africa, the starting point is to enable redevelopment of product. You know, can you start to see a diversification from the pre-colonial era products? Because I think the safari was a pre-colonial era product, and let's be honest, half of us in this room, if you're Ugandan and you've seen an elephant once, you don't care so much about seeing an elephant a second time. You probably will care more about the party, and that's why you find that most of the trips to the national parks are pegged to parties, and it's exciting that way. So how do we start to create product that's relevant to us? You start to find systems or mechanisms to allow the smaller tour operator to build products that make sense to the local market or domestic market, because maybe our interest is culture, maybe it's architecture, whatever it is, right? So on that basis, what TriPesa is doing is we're giving the smaller operators the tools to do this. You know, the tools are, you know, technology makes it so much easier for you to design an itinerary, to distribute an itinerary, to be able to accept payments and get customers. So the base level is, let's enable small operators to do this. Let's enable them to be able to tap into new source markets, both regional and local. And as it grows, then you'll start to see more success of things like marketplaces. And also, you know, new source markets. Can we get more people coming in from Kenya? Can we get, you know, when there's an event like this, at the end of it all, can there be tours being sold to the people coming into the event? So it's just creating efficiency of product development and distribution. That's our key contribution to the sector. With regards how we are applying the blockchain, TripESA we're still pretty early. Again, our approach is very decentralized. Unfortunately, we're not using the blockchain to enable this for now, but there's very many use cases that we've considered. So level one is, there's a lot of payments, especially cross-border payments happening between the tourism business or businesses. When you book a tour or a package in Dubai, you must send money from Uganda to Dubai, or Uganda and Mombasa, or whatever way it's moving. And the challenge now is it costs up to $50 for the typical TT process, because it's $15 on your side, $15 for the recipient, cost of FX, cost of moving around. It's pretty expensive. And we're thinking that stable coins may be a great solution for us, and looking at that as an option to be able to make sense of. On the other hand is the information problem, or booking confirmations, right? So when I make a booking, I receive a voucher. Now, there are so many ways or so many risks around moving this information around, and we believe that the immutable nature of the blockchain means that we're able to sort of give more guarantees on who is supplying a product or what you expect as a tourist, because there's more verification and more security around the process. So we actively as a business are looking into how we can use the blockchain more, and you may probably see us do something with stablecoins very soon and eventually move towards information control. But there's a really cool project that I'm a part of, which I'm happy to share with you, and I think that's one of those that pretty proud that we started. So about, I think about it took us about 6 years to get this contract. So we talked to Uganda Wildlife Authority about creating new ways to fund mountain gorilla conservation. Now, you know that trekking really is a way to generate money to fund conservation. Of course, it's either trekking or donor funding. And the reason why this was important is there's 1,063 mountain gorillas left in the wild. About 55% of those are in Uganda, the rest are in Rwanda and Congo. And the challenge is that when COVID happened, it proved that trekking was very unsustainable because people could not fly in. And this meant about $25 million for 2 years was pretty much wiped off the balance sheet of OR. So you need to find new ways to get money in. And what we did was propose an approach to get the world to engage with mountain gorillas virtually. So what we did, like I said, it took 6 years to get the contract, so it was very timely when we got it last year. And what we did was we have cameras in the forest. So we have a bunch of cameras that are set up in the forest in different places. And we collect data on a daily basis. So what we did was then put this into an application called the My Gorilla Family application. It allows anyone anywhere to join a gorilla family, and you can view daily feed for a small subscription fee. But then that was not enough, because we thought, how do we make this bigger? And this is where the blockchain presented a very strong opportunity, because we figured that we could actually launch a conservation NFT in a very different way, because we could link specific NFTs to specific gorillas, and be able to actually give the owner of this NFT a lot of information on a regular basis. Because when you contribute to conservation, it's one thing to adopt an elephant and then you have no real information, or it could be made up information. But by buying this NFT, you have a lot of access to information. And what we looked at doing was doing a two-level NFT. So you have what we call the silverback NFT that's actually linked to a specific gorilla. And then we have collectibles that also, in one part, the owner of the primary NFT is able to make some money off, so it's actually an investment, but also is able to generate lots more revenue for conservation. This project is still in process. We hope that we're able to launch it soon. I want to just add one quick one also. Is part of the revenue that we make also goes towards projects in the community. And the idea was either, tokenize that process such that you're receiving, you can actually track where each dollar generated from the NFT sale, the contribution going to the community, where does it go, what does it do, and just generally create a more transparent approach to conservation. So that's I think the way cooler project than TripESA, just that TripESA of course pays the bills, so we have to make that work. Thank you.
Thank you. And when you mention resources going to the community, this is a very important point, because we all have visited different tourism sites, and we notice the communities around. Play One are involved, but I don't think there is a very structured way in which they are being empowered. So do you see this as a way in which the community, whether it is in the case of gorillas, let's say the Batwa community or any others? Do you see this as one of the ways in which they could be supported more?
I think the most unfortunate thing about tourism is how it is structured today. Okay, because half of the tourism activity happening in Uganda or most of Africa happens in rural areas, and unfortunately, the people who run tourism are educated in urban areas who know how to attract customers from all over the world. And I think that's one of the things TRIPESA also does in trying to empower the community. So if you've been to Bwindi, and I've been trekking a number of times, great experience. I think I should now do a plug for trekking. Please go and see the gorillas, cool experience. But when you go there, you realize the level of poverty of the people who live in proximity to these places. And what that causes is a lot of pressure on the forest, because you have to understand, the people in Bwindi used to live off the forest. They would get food, they would get gold, they'd get timber. Now, all of a sudden, you wake up in the morning as a government and say that you cannot go back in there anymore because we need to conserve these animals. Now, this was food, okay? This was food, or in some places where they revered these animals, they worshipped them in some cases. So you have taken away our livelihood. How are you going to give us back a way to generate incomes? How are you going to take away this poverty? And it's a very sad state, because for the Batwa, for example, they were told, leave the forest. And they live in migratory communities, have no land, you know, they've lost their culture, lost their identity, to be honest, right? So what this does is, with money coming in to support the community, it helps them create more livelihoods. Conservation is not only about the animals, it's about the animals. It's a One Health concept. It's the forest, the animals, and the community, because the community lives off the forest. So it could be the money coming in through the NFT sale potentially would go to funding agriculture projects, training projects, healthcare, and so many other activities. So I think using especially things like conservation NFTs that you can actually track where this money ends up would actually be very effective for community support in conservation or tourism or such projects of the like.
Great. Thank you so much, David. Okay, Lillian. As we talk about the state of blockchain adoption, a key aspect, a key requirement is a skill set that will drive utility of a blockchain ecosystem. Since you work with Refactory, could you tell us a little bit more about the type of skill sets you are developing that would grow blockchain adoption in Uganda?
Okay, so I wanted to first start off with the adoption part, the one thing that Edlin missed out. We have Diwala, which I know by all means you know about. So from Refactory's end, we started off by adopting blockchain through issuing of our certificates for our students. They're technology students. We figured what better way to issue their certificates than through technology. So Irene over there, we work with her.
You can wave to the people.
So I think that's one other adoption,
Yes.
blockchain adoption utility that has been done here in Uganda that I think needs to grow more. And it could actually be a big thing even for universities. We would never have to suffer with our transcripts and getting our transcripts over a period of a whole year, and the employers are not waiting.
Could you just explain a little bit more about how exactly that works?
How it works. I think Irene would be the best person to explain it, but on the Refactory end, we do have students. Now I can go into the skilling. So we do skill for software developers, and most recently we've also introduced data science. And then in the next 3 months, we'll introduce blockchain technology and so many other programs, product management, everything around software development, its enablers, and anything technology. So Scrum Masters, product managers, project managers, a lot of UI UX, like that's a lot of technology stuff that we want to skill people in. But how it works with Diwala is after we've skilled our students, then we need to issue them a certificate that they're able to not only share to like an employer here in Uganda, but because we're skilling for global employment, you're also able to share your certificate to someone abroad, and they can be able to trust it because of its immutability from the Diwala end of things. So you have not tried to forge it or add anything that's not verified from the Refactory end of things. So on the Diwala platform, we have our students enrolled. And when we finish skilling them, we are able to inform Irene and her team that these are the students that have gone through exactly A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and this is what skill we can be sure they can be able to talk about if they go to an employer. And then Irene and her team will issue them these certificates from their platform, which is built on, I think, Ethereum. Yes. And these certificates are then secure certificates, but also you can be sure that they have data integrity of what is involved in there, what is listed in there. And then we also trust that the person we've issued this certificate to can be able to speak confidently about what it is that we've said they have learned. So we eliminate Nkuruma and all the rest of those things. Someone claiming to have gone to refactory and yet they can't even show something for what they did there. Yes, so that's one utility that Edlin had left out that I think is big on this market and should work if we adopt it more. Yeah. So on skilling, you asked me what skill sets do we need to think about in terms of blockchain technology in Uganda, and what are we doing about it? So as we all know, blockchain technology is really not so new in this market, but not very well understood. I think like what Edlin said, when people used to hear of blockchain, at least from 2-3 years ago, first thing would be Bitcoin. But that's just one application of blockchain technology in form of cryptocurrency and tokenization. Now, on the side of skilling is where we come in to help you understand what kind of skill set, languages, technology, even the soft skill side of things that you need to have to be able to confidently say that I am a blockchain developer. So where are we at right now at Refactory? We've been mostly training for Web 2.0, so I hope that we all have a good understanding of technology
Please
here.
explain when you say 2.0.
Okay. So there is what we call Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. Web 2.0 has been here for quite a while. That's where we have people getting to learn things like languages that are for both front end and back end, so you're able to develop mobile applications, web applications, everything that you use on your smartphone at the moment is what is categorized in Web 2.0, the ability to connect people and machines and places or whatever, IoT, Internet of Things, to work together on technology over the internet. That's Web 2.0. So at the moment, we've been training mostly for Web 2.0, which is really software development. And that cuts across so many disciplines. But we decided to train for software developers basing on the JavaScript framework. Now, if I'm going too fast, please put up your hands so I don't say so many things that you do not understand. Yes, so we've been training software developers based on the JavaScript framework. Why? Because we want to be able to produce a software developer that is all-rounded, understands not just the front end and back end of things, but is also able to communicate with their team, work together with their team, but then is also able to apply what they have learned when they go into a certain job or a team that does not necessarily write JavaScript. And they're very quickly able to learn how to write Python because they have the right principles and skill set to be an all-rounded software developer. Now, how does that apply to blockchain? Like I said, blockchain is a Web 3.0 technology. Now we're trying to connect things to work automatically without having humans interfere, yeah? And we had not yet started skilling for that at Refactory, but how does what we do now relate to blockchain technology and what are we working on to do? So we know that, for example, this BSV blockchain platform, to be able to work there, you need to have a good understanding of JavaScript. Yes, you have to have a good understanding of C#, C++, the languages that come from the Web 2.0 that I explained. So to start with, what we have done so far is to skill people in the languages that are important for them to then go ahead and advance to blockchain technology based on their passion anyway, if they want to go and learn. And then ahead of that now, we have started building partnerships. One of them is, of course, with Capital Survey. There are other partners that we have with Coding Dojo. It's interesting how most of these organizations have Dojo in them. But there's an organization called Coding Dojo in America that does skilling, and they've already built this platform that has all the content that we need to train for a proper blockchain developer. So in the future, which is like in 3 to 4 months, we will roll out a blockchain technology program where we'll be able to train blockchain developers, but that will be on the Ethereum platform. So why I'm so happy about this partnership is then we're able to have blockchain developers trained on a BSV blockchain platform, and they're also able to apply what they already know from what we've trained before in Refactory, and they're able to now just grow their skills some more and then be able to build all these smart contracts and programs that they need to build with what they already know. I feel like I'm saying so many things.
So many good things.
Yes. But have I answered your question?
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Thank you so much. And in that regard, we read and learn that blockchain developers are amongst the most sought after. And
we have a multitude of those, but then now what is being sought after, and so we then place ourselves there to make sure that we produce those people. So yes, it's true, blockchain developers are among those high-level advanced technology people that are being sought after, and it would be very good that for everyone who has decided that this is a line of work, career that you're going to grow yourself into, to then set yourself apart and decide which one of these sought after technologies am I going to grow myself into so that I am able to set myself apart from the very, very, very many software developers that we have right now. And people are really skilling themselves. Of course, we have one issue, I think, in Uganda. I'll speak for Uganda. The self-teaching then gets you to a place of saying, I am a React developer. But if Mr. Gonahasa here is looking for someone to employ, of course, we don't have so many people that can say, I can write Solidity, I'm able to combine C#, C++, JavaScript, and write for you some smart contract on Ethereum or BSV blockchain or whatever. So when we have these very many self-taught people, then it's difficult to say that this person is going to be gotten, and they're going to be able to transform into what we want them to transform into as a blockchain developer, because they've missed out on learning how to learn. They just have one skill, and that's all they have. And so to set yourself apart and be that sought after blockchain developer, even in a market where we don't have many of them, it would be important to identify exactly where you go to do your learning, how you learn, and how you're able to transform yourself as the market changes, as the things change around us. Because even with blockchain itself, yes, we've always had Ethereum, everyone is now thinking Solidity, Solidity, Solidity. But then many companies, Google, I mean, this BSV, they keep coming up with their own platforms, and then they define what languages they want for a developer to know, to be able to work for them. How are you going to become that person? I think that's a question I leave with everyone.
thank you. Thank you so much, Lillian. We are going to take one last question, and then we will likely open it to the audience. I just want to get clarity on time, if we are still okay. We are good. Okay. I'll ask Mr. Japheth, CK, and then we'll do one more round depending on the amount of time we have. CK, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. You know, in Uganda we're used to VIPs coming at the end, walking in late, so don't feel bad at all. But thank you for hosting us here as well. Would like to just hear from you. How is the Innovation Village and its ecosystem supporting the growth of blockchain adoption in Uganda?
Thank you, Kwame, and I'm sorry I'm late. I wasn't innovating anything blockchain. I had an emergency I was dealing with. But I also knew that for the people in this room, the guys you needed to hear from were already here, you know. And I'd like to thank the team at Capital Survey, you know, for putting this together and organizing this community that's going to keep growing. I think for me, I see the work that we do as a platform, and it comes down to that obsession that I've always had around why aren't we competing enough at as Uganda across the continent. We have brilliant entrepreneurs like David, like some of the guys seated here, and so many others. So where we mostly operate and what we're trying to solve for is why, with all of these entrepreneurs, aren't we competing? Aren't we visible? Why aren't we attracting enough capital, you know, for them? But we hear the nice stories about being very entrepreneurial. So that's the work that we've really tried to double down on at the Innovation Village. And our answers came down to things like, you know, the ecosystem needs strengthening, and that's why perhaps we're pursuing initiatives like the Startup Act right now to create that ecosystem that the entrepreneurs need to be able to start to grow, to expand. Now, bring it home to blockchain and the entire ecosystem. I'll admit I'm perhaps one of the most ignorant people in the space. The only thing that makes me look like I know anything is Kwame is my friend. But again, I connect it to the ecosystem, you know, so we want to be the best place where conversations like this are happening, you know. If you're a developer, if you're an entrepreneur, we want you to say, okay, where do I go to find others like me who are crazy enough to believe that they can do something? This is where you'll find them. If there are initiatives like, you know, what Capital Survey is doing with the academy, you will come and you'll find them here with us, and we will, as we are committed, continue to provide that environment for conversations like this to be had, but conversations like this to also be normalized as part of the ecosystem, and we continue to, you know, to offer that as our core mandate. So not so much in depth, like for example, in what Refactory is doing, what the academy is going to do, but around convening and catalyzing people in the ecosystem to continuously have that conversation, normalize it, and make it the day-to-day for everybody in the ecosystem. And of course, keeping in mind that technology is evolving, and we need to evolve as it does. Thank you.
Great, thank you, CK. And I really just want to pick up on that point. You know, our industry can only grow as well as the ecosystem is organized. And yourself, as a pioneer, has really grabbed this bull by the horns to try to steer the growth of Uganda's ecosystem. So I'd like to applaud you and all the others who have taken a similar effort. We know it's not easy, but we also know you're not an easy man, so we are glad that you're at the forefront of this. Okay, I'll just ask one more question, and then we'll open it up. And really riding on what CK was mentioning about ecosystem development. a key aspect of that is capital. And I would like to congratulate our brother David Gonahasa, who raised some money recently. This is where we clap. And as you may have noticed, those who read the article...
He's the only one seated like he's raised some money.
So if we start sitting like this, maybe we'll also raise. You know, if you read the articles online, it said that they've raised an undisclosed amount of money. That usually means it's very much that they are not comfortable destabilizing us. But really, David would like to congratulate you on this. And it's a great thing when an entrepreneur in Uganda's ecosystem is able to raise resources. It has several ripple effects, attracting FDI, creating jobs, and so on. But would also like to hear from David, because as one of us who has been able to do it, would like to hear from you on tips on how to do it, what you can advise other Ugandan entrepreneurs, because the journey that you've walked, the goal that you've achieved is one that many others are aspiring towards. So if you could just share some tips, we would appreciate.
What's interesting is that our first round, which was $15,000, came from an Innovation Village grant from Japheth, right? Unfortunately, I don't know who wrote the article, right? Just for full disclosure. The thing about raising money, in my opinion, and I think it's the same across the board, is it's very stage-centric, okay? In early stage fundraising, it's very heavily based on relationship. It's how much the investor knows you or the person who is making the introduction to the investor, okay? There's that typical stuff you hear, the stuff we put in our decks. Problem, is the problem big enough? What's your solution? How big is the market? Your numbers and some projections and your hockey stick curve to your financial model and all the stuff. I've learned that investors do not care about any of that stuff. What's interesting about actually our fundraise is that, it's a very long story, but it includes boat rides on the Niger Delta and all these things. But then we managed to get Future Africa on board. I saw Peter in the room. Peter was the principal at Future Africa. If you are an entrepreneur trying to raise money, please try and speak to Peter, because he's been in the middle of this whole investment thing. He's not announced, but Peter also just raised money a few weeks ago, because he left Future Africa and has begun a new venture called Joint Steward. Now, when we got Future Africa on board, because of an introduction, like literally we went and sat in a place at 10 p.m. in the evening and had the conversation, and he said, I'm in, I will give you so much of your round, okay? The next guy we spoke to I think 7 investors in Lagos and 5 said yes, but then the process after the yes to actually getting the money is even more tedious than the first bit of meeting the investor. So number one is relationships, right? Try to get introductions from people who know the investors you want to be able to raise money from, because like I said, the first round, your numbers, your projections normally are just numbers you've picked from the sky. They actually may work, but in most cases they won't. So if you're doing sort of an early stage, sort of pre-seed round, that's what you need to. As you go further up in amounts, I've realized that even now, as we've already begun working on our seed round, it's not actually, it's purely our investors now making the calls. I've had so many investor conversations of recent, and I'll tell you, some as short as 8 minutes, where the guy is only asking you, what is your GMV? And if your GMV is negligible, he's not interested. He won't even have another chat with you.
GMV is?
Gross merchandise volume. How much money is moving through your platform? Actually, no, you should learn these words. I tell you, the first time someone asked me for a deck, I was like, a what? And it's been a process of maybe 8 years of refining and learning and relearning all these things. Because investors will walk and talk to you, and it's funny, sometimes they'll throw acronyms or statements just to check, because raising money is a science, right? It's a language, it's a process, and you need to know these things. So sometimes they'll ask these questions, sort of see if you actually know what you're saying. The other thing that I learned is that the process after the yes, the first yes, is more tedious, because you need to have your information together. You need to have data rooms that are very well organized. Someone sends a link to an investor, and an investor looks at this and they will decide. I've told you, your numbers, problem, whatever it is, a few times actually really matter. So someone is going to look at how organized you are as a business and just feel like, you know what, these guys make so much sense. In fact, they look at your team, the team has a lot of experience, the intro was good, I can trust you. It's 100K, I can lose it. Because they give 100K to 100 companies, you know, and they hope that 2 or 3 or 5 will work. So focus on the right networks, get the right introductions in. I can tell you, I'm sure whenever some random guy comes up to Japheth to ask him for money, he's probably not going to give you money even more. Because he's like, I don't know you, I don't know what your background is, you may be a thief, you know. But if Kwame tells Japheth, look at this venture, he's probably going to look at it more seriously, right? So I think that's the most important thing. The other thing I want to say is that in some cases, debt is better than equity. It's cheaper than equity. So if you're a small business and you're making money, maybe equity is not what you want. Maybe debt is what you need. Again, proper structure, talk to the banks, it is possible. I don't know if I've answered your question, but what I'm saying is early stage fundraising is very heavily based on relationships. Look at nurturing those relationships. But again, solve big problems, because I've realized that if you're in tech and you're fundraising, money investors are more keen on how big the problem is. Like, we struggled so much to justify our total addressable market because they felt like our market was too small. And I can tell you, like with the first investor we got, I think I spent 1 hour just explaining what tourism meant. And investors don't understand your markets and your problems, right? So make it simpler for them to understand. I'm sure Japheth can add to all this stuff I'm saying, because he's been giving people money, so he probably knows what he wants to hear. And getting even more of it.
I'm the moderator, but since the man has raised money, really, let us, Japheth, I accept. Japheth, please explain.
Thank you, moderator. I don't know which one, but so I don't know how to talk about, money is an interesting one. Most of the time, once you get an idea, most entrepreneurs think, I keep saying, I'm God's gift to Uganda because of this idea that you have. And yet, an idea is worth nothing. It's the execution of that idea that matters, and what you need to create value for it to be able to attract the money. So there are so many different directions you can go if you're trying to attract money, but I think one of the most important things is to know the type of money that you're trying to attract. And I keep saying that money is not an achievement, it's an obligation. If you get money, so there are different types of money you can get into your venture. You can get money that is for NGOs, impact-led, that will ask you to do different things because you got the money. It's not free, right? So you can get that money that's impact NGOs, that type. You can get typical debt from various sources, and a number of, some of it can either be convertible or it can also be interest. So you have to pay back the interest. You can raise equity and you give away X percentage of your company for someone who's giving you the money. So the most important thing for me is all of this type of money has different colors and it has different implications. So if you get money that is impact driven from a charity, NGO, foundation, what they're going to ask for is results. And results in this case may be, we want to give you $100,000 to train entrepreneurs in blockchain in Karamoja. You get the implication of that. It means now you have to go to Karamoja and start training young women there how to build on blockchain. That's that type of money. And every month they'll call and say, How many have you trained? Remember, there's no connectivity, there's no, but that's that's the implication. If you take debt, they want it back, interest, and they'll first take back their interest before they take, and then if you take, equity, same. So we put a certain level of importance on money and not understand that it's not about the money. It's really the type and then what you're going to use it for. I keep saying whenever I'm asked about money that money doesn't flow to people who need it. In fact, it runs away from them. Money flows to those who create value for it. So the money that you're able to attract is a reflection of the value you have positioned to create. You may not have created it. There's the upside, positioned to create. Now, what determines the person who gets money? It's things like what problems are you solving? A lot of us entrepreneurs, if you're building something and you're building it for only Kampala. The entrepreneurs in this room who have never imagined that their business can be in Gulu, in Jinja, right? And let alone imagining that the business can be in Nairobi or, and that's why you see the names of our companies. If you're naming them, you call it Tukole, because it's for I won't mention the other names, but really, we're solving a problem that's too small that it cannot attract the financing that you need. So small problem, small area, and not looking at it at solving it at scale. So there are so many different ways, but I think one of the challenges we've also seen now in Uganda's ecosystem is that we have a lot of the wrong type of money. We have a lot of, impact-driven funds, that will say go train blockchain in Karamoja, instead of giving an entrepreneur like David the commercial capital he needs to be able to grow his enterprise. Yeah. So that's part of the work that we're working on. But again, as we do that, we've struggled, with an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur is someone who has built a business and who believes they must be congratulated for what they have done, achieved, even if it's just the idea. And yet, the money is going to flow to that organization based off your ability to demonstrate the value you can create or you have so far created. So my basic advice normally is don't worry about the money. A lot of entrepreneurs waste a lot of time chasing money they don't deserve because you haven't yet built up that demonstration of or evidence of value instead of focusing on that. So don't worry about the money. Focus on understanding the problem, who is facing it, what are they interested in, and present yourself to be the best person to solve the problem. And perhaps, as I wind up on this, one of the most important lessons I've learned, in fact, when E came here, around money, is that because I need money, and I go, the only person who looks like he has money here is Kwame, so because I need money, right? And I go to Kwame, I'll go and start telling him about what I'm doing, my pitch deck, because I need money, right? He doesn't care about that, right? What he cares about is what I can do for him, right? So don't go asking for money, explaining what you need and what you're doing and the problems you have and the lunch you didn't have, right? Go to Kwame and tell him, I know you're doing this, but here is what I can do for you, and here's why I'm the best person to do that for you. He will invest in you, not because he's really interested in you, but he's interested in the problem you're solving for him, So it's really an interesting one to stop thinking about yourself as you look for money, but think about the person that you're talking to and how you are the solution to the problems they have and why you are the best solution to that person, and they'll write the check immediately. Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you, CK, thank you, David, thank you, Lillian, thank you, Edlin. We now would like to hear from, are we okay on time? How much more time do we have? Okay, that's, okay. Okay, let's hear from the audience. If you're going to ask a question, remember, state who you'd like, who you're tagging it towards, and then you can ask the question. Are there people who can move around with microphones? Or are there any microphones in the audience, or do we have to get from here? Okay.
Okay, so time?
We'll
I'll
take
start with
3
you,
questions
2,
as a
3.
first round.
Okay.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is...
You can stand. Yes.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Joanita Nyangoma, and I'm an electrical engineer. So I have 3 questions, but I'll ask one for now. And it's directed to you, Kwame. Beyond cryptocurrency, what other uses does blockchain have, especially for the ordinary Ugandan man or woman? Omuntu wa wansi? How can I be able to convince the ordinary youth, aged maybe between 18 and 35, trying to diversify his or her income streams, that he can actually utilize blockchain to do just that? For now.
Thank you. Next question.
Thank you. My name is Timothy Nsonga. I work in AML. So I'm really interested in the discussion of virtual assets and money laundering. I have 2 questions. One is for Council Murungi. You really gave good information on the state of virtual assets and AML in the legal perspective in Uganda. So my question to you is, you said Bank of Uganda issued a circular to payment service providers on the integration with virtual assets. However, some of them have adopted them and some of them haven't because of the appetite for risk they have. So I want to ask, what advice would you give to a payment service provider on the adoption of virtual assets? Is it something legal that you'd advise them to do, or is it something you wouldn't advise them to do? My other question is to Mr. Kwame. I want to ask, everything that makes cryptocurrency attractive is everything that keeps governments and financial intelligence units at night awake at night from a money laundering perspective. So I want to know, are you having the discussion, you as thought leaders, on how financial intelligence units and governments could adopt cryptocurrencies, and also what controls are you guys putting in place to prevent cryptocurrencies from being used as conduits for money laundering? And also, what opportunities, I think maybe Lillian could chip in on this, what opportunities could this threat offer to developers, maybe to provide more security on the blockchain against money laundering? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We can take 2 more, and then we'll begin answering.
Hello, my name is Noah Serenjaji. I'm a student at Viva College. So I wanted to inquire something. You told us all the advantages and the disadvantages of crypto, but for some people, it's not going to be easy to access, because most times when you're buying crypto, maybe you have to use a credit or a debit card, and most people don't have access to that. So maybe, is there a way that you could improve it so you could make it widely available to everyone?
Okay, thank you. You said you're in high school.
One more question, then we'll come to you.
What class are you in? S1. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm Prosi, a front-end developer, and I've trained a few ladies in the same field. My question is really going to Lillian. So you've talked about developers diving into one stack, and you see it as a problem. Yes, I agree with you, but to some extent, I think that goes back to whoever is training the developers or encouraging, or whichever path the developer is seeing as bright. Here in Uganda, we train developers, or we the developers mostly, I can say truthfully, even with all the developers in this room, we do not like working for Ugandans. So what other what other market? Because yes, I can defend that. And the reason is Ugandans do not find value in Ugandan developers. It's not that we are not worthy, it's not that we are not trained enough, but at the end of the day, they want to just throw you peanuts that can't even put light in your house, you know. And then you do a ton of work for like 7 developers and the whole bunch, and they are targeting this one creature to do all this, yeah? So at the end of the day, we still look at, you know, Ugandan market, what is selling, and then you say, let me learn React. And when you learn React, then you have this one company that you're attached to, and then you find there's nothing like growth, you know, and as a developer, you really need to grow because technology is changing right, left, center. And my question is, what are you guys at Refactory doing to see that if we trained 16 ladies into web development or whatever stack you're training, what exactly do we always follow up to see what they're up to? Do we give them job connections? Do we advise on the job markets that are really suitable? Because you find like some developers are working for Uganda, and then they have like a side gig, you know, here and there. What exactly are we as the people training, like Refactory, Makere? As for Makere, that one is, what are we doing to make sure that the people we are training, or the people we are attracting to train, know that this is what you need to do? The technology changes on a daily basis. Do we do a follow-up, or?
Okay, we'll take just one more question and then we will close.
Thank you very much. My name is Mrs. Erin Mutuzo Sevume, and I work for Diwala, which is another use case of blockchain technology and self-sovereign identity standards away from crypto. Now, mine is not a question, but it's a submission. I believe that blockchain adoption in Uganda is affected by the way we communicate it. So communication, yes, we have great developers, we have great skills, we have brilliant software engineers and all these things, but how are we communicating this technology in our space? How we are communicating it is what will determine whether people are open to it, whether people take it on, or whether people just keep closing their doors. And one of the issues I love that she mentioned, and she asked, what are the other use cases apart from crypto? Because the way we have communicated blockchain technology, it's been like this is a thing for only Bitcoin or only crypto. So when you get into spaces, like I get into spaces and I say that we are using blockchain technology to ensure that institutions can issue digital certificates that can't easily be forged and that can be accessed and verified anywhere, people are always asking, so do you have a token? Do you have some Bitcoin behind it? Because that's the way it was being fronted. So my wish is that this academy, that's a very good initiative, will raise leaders in this space where we're talking about the various use cases and values that blockchain provides, not just in the financial sector, but also in the agriculture sector that Kwame is in the credentialing sector, the education sector that I'm in, and all other sectors. Then secondly, Omuntu wa wansi. I am responding to her questions because these are things I've actually gone through acting in the space. When you go to a person who has never heard of any tech, it's important to explain to them this technology and the value it provides in a way they understand. I've also come to learn that in certain sectors, in certain spaces, you do not even need to mention blockchain technology. You need to mention, one, what the problem is, how it's being solved. You need to explain it in a grandmother language, because at the end of the day, no matter the solution you would have, brilliant as it is, it will not be adopted if people do not get it. It will not be adopted if you go in and you're talking about blockchain, hash codes, encryption, but someone wants to know, when I issue my certificate, for example, can I get it anywhere? Can it easily be forged? So trying to get to that grandmother language and communicating the value, most importantly, the value that the technology provides is what will make it adopted. Thank you.
Okay. Irene, would you like to join us here on the panel? Because you've answered everything. I think we can close the session. Okay, thank you, Irene, and thank you, everyone, for the questions that you have raised. We are going to take them systematically. We'll probably just move in this order. And we'll start with Edlin, the questions on legal that were raised, and also our young emerging tech entrepreneur from Viva College. And then we can go on. Gonasa, if you could also comment on what she had mentioned. Lillian, on any of the questions that pertain, and of course, CK. Then I'll answer those that were raised with me.
Thank you, Kwame. And thank you, everyone, for your round of questions. To answer your question, if you are a payment service provider, first of all, your regulator, if you are licensed, is BOU. And therefore, the advice I would give would honestly be limited to what you're willing to do within your means to maintain your license. And that's exactly what the regulators have done in terms of whether you're going to deal with virtual asset service providers, i.e. crypto companies, or not. So if you are a payment service provider, there are those that are licensed and there are those that are not. And I think if you have found people who are still in this economy right now dealing with crypto companies or virtual asset service providers, they are probably not licensed. And those who are licensed for fear of losing their license are following the circular that BOU issued, because BOU is the regulator of payment service providers. So therefore, I would honestly tell you, you need to follow what your regulator is telling you so that you do not lose your license. But that's if you are licensed. I think that's how far I can go. For anti-money laundering, I think it's well known all over that for anti-money laundering, all people that touch money, or all people or all entities that are conduits of money, must observe anti-money laundering laws and rules and things like that. And therefore, specifically, if we use Shaz explained the use cases. So please, everyone, I need you to differentiate the different blockchain use cases, and the use case of financial services is the one of cryptocurrency. And that's usually where anti-money laundering laws come in. And the issue of them being used as conduits of anti-money laundering shouldn't be an issue because of what everyone has said. They cannot be changed. But the problem is that people do not believe that and do not accept that, and that has been mostly because of scams. Otherwise, many of the cryptocurrency companies or virtual asset service providers follow almost even more stringent rules than banks as to where your money is coming from. You need to upload your KYC, and where is the money going. So they follow the money, where it's coming from and where it's going. And if you have known this industry, I think one of the use cases in the financial industry for this specific thing has been one of the solving a big FBI case. I think most of you have heard about it, of money that was lost years ago and could only be recovered because of blockchain technology. So the technology itself is actually very friendly to anti-money laundering, but the scams in the system have been a hindrance to that. And that can easily be done because anti-money laundering rules are quite very clear. It's a matter of questions, and then you tick. Do you know the person? Do you know where the money is coming from? And do you know where the money is going? And those are questions most of these companies can answer, and therefore uphold those rules. The other question of how can you buy cryptocurrency? I think that's the question, right? Without debit cards and credit cards. I think most of Uganda does not own debit cards or credit cards, and they are able to buy cryptocurrency. And this is where the ecosystem question comes in. I cannot say you can use mobile money because BOU might come for me because of the circular they issued. But before 29th April, you could use mobile money to buy cryptocurrency. After 29th April in Uganda, they use peer-to-peer platforms, let me put it that way. So essentially, you can still buy cryptocurrency without a debit card. You can use bank transfers, and you can use peer-to-peer mobile money. Peer-to-peer mobile money, there's a difference. And you can also use cash, the usual golden rule that you can carry, but that's almost very unreliable and not the best way. I think they'll be able to offer more explanation on that one. I don't know if I've answered all the legal questions. Thank you.
Since before I used to trade speculatively, now I don't anymore, so I'm focusing on the technology. I want to speak into what she said about communication. One of the challenges about many developers in the blockchain space, or what's happening with AI and all this stuff, is that you walk into a room of people like myself and Japheth, because I think we are the older in this room now, well, aside from Kwame, and and then we start by saying, oh, I'm building an AI app that does A, B, C, D, E, right? So half the time we don't understand what you're saying, because for most developers, I'm sure you don't go into a room and say, yeah, so I built a website on PHP using PHP or Laravel, and the front end's Vue.js, that you've lost the person listening to you. You communicate the value, right? What she said is Diwala gives you a secure form to certify documents as an institution, which means they won't be forged. A lot of value has been communicated so simply. So change how you communicate what you're doing. I think it takes a lot of worry away from the people listening to you. I want to speak about also speak briefly about Ugandan businesses do not value Ugandan developers, right? Unfortunately, ever since a couple of companies came in and began providing much higher salaries to developers, there's this over-assumed value of self in many developers, okay? Because if I'm a small venture starting out and I have 50 million shillings in my kitty, and I want to take you on full time, I'm not going to be able to give you $2,000. We got to a point where we gave up on conversations with developers, because every time a dev walks in, he says to you, his proficiency is not that high, but because he's ex Andela or ex whatever it is, he walks in and says, yeah, I want $2,000. I won't afford to pay you $2,000, right? Even in the markets that we aspire towards, Nigeria, Egypt. In fact, Egyptian devs are paid you find guys being paid $300, $400, and they're building some really amazing stuff, right? I think as entrepreneurs, it's important for us to build teams that grow with the business. If you walk in and I'm paying you 1.5, if anything, devs have so much visibility on the business that you're able to actually grow with the business. So the first thing is devs should understand that building is a growth process, that, this salary is increased, you can negotiate for options. In fact, devs have so much power that in most cases, entrepreneurs are happy to give you options when you get in. So I'm proud to also say that right now, TripEssa is being built fully by a Ugandan dev team. Okay, well,
this is where we clap.
I know,
yes.
Right? We had, at some point, we had a bunch of Indian guys who were offshore, and they were great, but then we realized that, the one way we give value or keep value here is by actually letting go of the Indian team and working with a full, local dev team. We have a very specific stack, and we've been able to see the quality of work get better and better and better. So it's not fair as an entrepreneur, and I suggest you take it back, But yes, there are scenarios where it may be impossible. So devs should also be able to be willing to grow with the ventures that they're part of. And I think it's easier to work with someone you see and negotiate it. Oh, just one other thing I'm hearing most recently from devs in negotiations is a guy walks into your room, you have a very nice meeting, he wants $2,000 and 4 days remote. Oh yeah, and I've had equity as well. So be willing to work with us, and I'm sure it will be much easier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please
I
go ahead,
think
Lillian.
I wanted to first answer one question that the gentleman had about security and how the developer can then be able to set themselves apart using blockchain. Then I'll pick up from what David said and answer this lady. I think hearing Edlin speak and saying that scams have then made people not trust blockchain technology, I think I wanted to also say that those scams are not within the technology. It's all these pyramid schemes that we have around Kampala that we have chosen to believe is blockchain, which is just a pyramid scheme of someone carrying around a cryptocurrency along a pyramid scheme. No more pyramid schemes. We've had these pyramid schemes for like years immemorial. And then we start saying, that blockchain stuff is insecure. We cannot adopt it. So I think to answer the gentleman's question, laundering of money, the failure to have ease of transactions is exactly what blockchain technology is trying to solve. We just have to educate ourselves. Maybe we just need to have people that can easily speak about blockchain technology in simple ways, like Irene said, so that we disassociate it from pyramid schemes that then we think is the scam of blockchain technology. So if, as a developer, you need to have a good understanding of what it is you want to get yourself into, so you're able to easily communicate it to people with simplicity for them to believe you and understand that what you're trying to sell to them is exactly what's going to solve their insecurity problem. Yeah. Now, to the lady here, following up on what David was saying, I think I'll just go back to how we do it at Refactory. Like I said, we do train starting with software engineers, an all-round software engineer that does not just know React or JavaScript, but is able to also fit in a team, communicate well, be able to stand on their 2 feet and explain what they're able to do as a software engineer. Now, mark what I'm saying, a software engineer, not a React developer or a PHP developer or a Python developer. And why we emphasize an all-round software engineer is the ability to morph yourself as technology morphs. So I know you disagree with me saying that people should not just go one way. Unfortunately, on the market, we have also so many employers that come to us and say, we want a PHP developer. And so we are very, very quick to tell them, we do not have PHP developers. We have software engineers who are going to come into your organization and wrap themselves around what you do, understand your systems, and they'll be able to write PHP in 3 months or 2 because they are going to learn it while working. So that goes back to what David is saying. The developers we have in this country need to learn to grow with these organizations. If you think you're going to show up as a PHP developer, not all organizations are writing their stuff in PHP. You're not going to get a job. And maybe then that's why you're saying most of them go on a global level. But how many of them have been able to tie down these remote jobs and keep them? Because they may also be lacking in so many other skills except their wonderful PHP knowledge that may not really take them far. So that's why we really, really emphasize an all-rounded software engineer that's going to be able to learn and morph as technology changes. Today, you know JavaScript frameworks, Vue.js, Node.js, and that's really a cool stack to know. Tomorrow, they're looking for someone who is going to write Golang because now they're looking for blockchain developers. What are you going to do? Are you going to sit back and say, I can't do that stuff? Or you're going to leverage your JavaScript knowledge to then go and understand Golang, and in 2 months, you're able to go. Yeah. Secondly, on the employment side, yes, we do follow up on the people that we do train. And I think that's one of the advantages we have at Refactory. It's a full circle 360 training academy that we, okay, I'll first of all talk about what Japheth was saying, impact. One of the things that we pride ourselves so much in is how much impact have we been able to create, tangible impact, which is on our end, the success is that out of 40 people that we trained, 38 actually got a job. That's success. So we do follow up on these people. We don't just train you and throw you out there to go and find a job. And thankfully, we have so many employers, like Mr. Kwame over here, that come to us and explain, knowing very well that this terrain that we are working with, we may not have that senior person, but if they pick a one Rita who has been well trained, they will grow with her and turn her into that other senior developer they wanted at the beginning. So yes, we do have opportunities that we do place people in. We do follow up on these people. I hope, Kwame, we are following up on your people very well. And we ensure that they grow with the organizations where they've gone, but then they're also delivering. They're not just another weight to the organization. So I will still go back to what I said. It's important to learn how to learn. It's important to learn how to move with time. You can't just stand on your 2 feet and say, I am a React developer. It will work for you maybe today, tomorrow, and the other day. But when Kwame is looking for someone who can write Solidity, you won't be able to go there. That's what I was trying to say.
Thank you, Lillian. CK?
I think the questions have been answered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
mine is also further context,
okay.
Especially for everybody in the room. Especially because of what I said, what keeps me up at night, or what I work on 26 hours a day. So I celebrate guys like him, you know, senior one, right? Yeah. Let's put our hands together for him, right? And for me, if you ask me, I tell people that everything we do at the village will be successful. I'll be 60 sometime, and they'll call me to watch CNN, and a guy like that will be speaking, and he'll be talking about his unicorn, you know, because he was able to be in conversations like these, where he was inspired about what he can do, and that's what we live for. So I'm looking at this room, and apart from celebrating, you know, him, it's everybody in the room. I see students that I met at MOBS, at the LEAP conference. I see successful entrepreneurs. I see strategic movers of initiatives. I see other partners at the back, entrepreneurs in here. I think for me, it's demonstration that we're on the move as an ecosystem, we're on the move as a country around technology, around this space, whether it's blockchain or otherwise. But it's critical for us to, you know, put a number of things into consideration. The first one is really around the importance for us to solve problems that matter. You know, there is a shiny object syndrome where we can easily move to what's happening, what's exciting, but let's solve problems that matter to our communities, to businesses, to even government, because there's now an open-mindedness around working with the ecosystem. And that's how we get the value to be able to, to grow. And then, of course, lastly, it's I'll sound like a pastor or a motivational speaker. I'm neither of those. It's the awareness that the things we take or things we're trying to do take time. You know, they take time. When we started building the village, my beard wasn't white. Now I don't know which color it is, but it takes time. Whatever aspirations you have, whatever you're trying to build, you just have to keep going and going. It's hard. You'll fail. If you haven't failed, wait for it. But you learn. You get up. It takes time. So I'm also calling for that patience as we achieve whatever aspirations we have as we build that ecosystem. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, CK. And on this point of time, the fact that Japheth has taken an amount of time doesn't mean you need to take the same amount of time. Or that David has taken, you don't need to take the same time. Once you latch onto them, once you hear what they say, your time can be significantly shortened. I want you people to remember this. Okay, I will just respond to my questions, and then I'd like to make, before we wrap up, I'll introduce one person in the house. I think there was a question asked about government and what is going on. This has been responded to by Edlin. We, as the Blockchain Association, have been engaging various arms of government over the last several months and years in order to make things easier in our country. We want our country, we want Uganda to be an ecosystem that attracts capital, that attracts opportunities, that attracts business. And so specifically in this sector, we've been working in engaging the Capital Markets Authority, the Bank of Uganda, and Financial Intelligence Authority. These are ultimately the bodies that would play an active role at a regulatory level in this industry. We have made some progress, and we are continuing to engage with Edlin and the team at Capital Savvy and others, and we are optimistic that even more progress will continue to unfold. There was also a question asked regarding use cases, specifically around Omuntu Wawansi. What can we tell them? I would like to refer to what was mentioned earlier, both by the panel but also by someone who was supposed to be on the panel. A big mistake we often make is going out saying blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. Huge, huge mistake. And for those who are getting into this space, again, like we said earlier, use our experiences so that you don't make the similar mistakes. You don't go out talking about a technology. You go out talking about how you're going to solve someone's problem. This is what is critical. And CK illustrated this very, very clearly. So I'd like yourselves to keep this in mind. So we went out initially saying blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. But we realized that someone is not really interested in blockchain. Neither are they interested in the internet. They don't want to really know how the internet works. What they want to know is, how can the internet solve my problem? How can the internet work for me? And so when we began to reposition our engagement along those lines, we began to see value being returned at multiple levels: B2G, B2B, and B2C. That means to government, to businesses, and to consumers. And so I'll just give a few examples in the interest of time. At the level of government, we are seeing a shift now in our communication sector. The Communications Authority, UCC, is now using a blockchain system in order to ensure verification and attestation of SIM cards. This is a very, very important move, and probably the first commercial deployment of blockchain in the world with a regulator. And what this ultimately will result into is a drop in the cases of fraud that have been going on. SIM card fraud is a very big problem, and blockchain has a role in being able to mitigate this. At a B2B level, there's a lot of businesses that are already using blockchain for various purposes. Edlin has spoken briefly about the financial sector. I know banks that are doing pilots to improve their settlement times. I'm also familiar with traceability that is going on in the agriculture sector. Is that sabotage or? Okay, we are safe. Yes, so I was saying that there's traceability. That's another use case that we are seeing. And I know it is going on in the agriculture sector currently in Uganda, in the coffee value chain specifically. I've also seen it in pharmaceuticals. People who are using blockchain to ensure that we can minimize fake drugs that are coming to the country. So we're seeing a lot of utility at B2B level. At B2C, we're also seeing utility. And remember that when you're going to talk to people, they're not interested in the technology. Ultimately, what they're interested in is, what can this do for me? The team that is hosting us here, Capital Savvy, provides lending and saving services. This is a very required service by many people in our country. people want resources. People want to save money. And so CaptoSavvy is using blockchain infrastructure. So they're using infrastructure on the back end, which is really not the end of interest to consumers, but are providing a service of lending and saving to wananchi. So you can see that the most important thing here is to talk about the utility. And I've spoken about utility at government level, at businesses, and at consumers. I'll also highlight remittances. This is another use case that I see Sule at the back. Sule, maybe you can just wave to the people. Yes. I had said Sule, but he has escorts. So that gentleman is using blockchain to do remittances in not just Uganda, but in Africa. So there's a lot of utility. There is a team I'm a part of called Tuzanye, along with Nile One over there, that are using blockchain for gaming. So people are playing video games using blockchain technology. And essentially what this is that blockchain enables for these things called NFTs. And NFTs are digital assets that have inherent value. So people are using those NFTs to play video games and are able to generate revenue, not through gambling or sports betting, but because the NFTs have value, the way we play video games and gain points, you're able to translate those points into real world value. And there's a tournament going on today in Lugogo, yes, at Katikati Restaurant. It's happening right now, from now up to 4 p.m. So you can go and see how people are using blockchain technology to play video games. Okay, so there's a lot of utility, and those are just some of the examples. But because of time, we are going to bring this session to an end, but also because I'm the moderator, I request for some authority to do something unusual. We are, as a country, hosting today, and on the course of these last few days, someone from Nigeria, who I'm going to introduce shortly. The largest crypto media house in Africa is called Crypto TV Plus. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Tony Emeka from Nigeria, who runs Crypto TV Plus. And I'll ask him to just say something. Why he's in Uganda, what he does, if he has tested Matoke. Anything you'd like to say to the Ugandan audience.
Good day, everyone. Good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. My name is Tony, and this is my second time in Uganda. And this is my second time seeing you again, live. We have been seeing online. First, before I start saying anything, I just want to say big thank you to the opportunity, and also Blockchain Association of Nigeria started after we came for Blockchain Uganda 2018. You might not know this, but after we went back, I told the community that we went to Uganda and they have Blockchain Association of that country. So why don't we do something? So that is how we started. So Nigeria Blockchain Association today was inspired by this country. And that is as a result of the events you organized. So thank you very much. Yeah, my second time being here, and I'm happy to be here. And everything is going well. I think the only thing I've eaten is the fish, right? Yeah, I've tested the fish. It's okay. And this is my second time being here, and the longest. I think I've been like 10 days, 15 days now, 10 to 12 days now here. So one of the reasons why I came was, in Africa, we have one problem. A whole lot of things are happening. When new technology comes, we find it difficult to go into, as in people find it difficult to adopt, right? So like what my sister said about communication, blockchain, 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 blockchain. Yeah, in Nigeria, I'm privileged to be CEO of Crypto TV Plus, one of the biggest media, as they call it. No, we are still, So at the course of me being in the space since 2017, we have one problem, which is everybody wants to create things. And most companies come to Nigeria to market what they have. Then we discover that we have a lot of products, blockchain products coming, blockchain, we want to do this, we want to do that. But where are the users? There is a time that the number of people I receive in my office daily that comes all over Africa, that all over the world in terms of trying to market this in Nigeria, don't really understand how the market works, number one. They just want to sell. But I keep on asking, you guys are bringing these things, where are the users? So meaning, even the users are not there, but there are a lot of, but what sells more is Ponzi scheme. So, like this house now, people that do Ponzi scheme, you might not see them here. The real people that do Ponzi scheme, the real people that even patronize the Ponzi scheme, you can't see them here. So we initiated a program called BCAT, Blockchain and Cryptocurrency Awareness Tour. Now creates a different formula how we can do what? Send the message across to the people. So how can you get the people? What are things that the people like? They like music, they like comedy, and they like other things. So with that, we have thousands number of people, because at the end of the day, we discover that the government always tag those Ponzi guys that they are crypto people. So if a Ponzi company forward with a lot of millions, some $6 billion fraud, they say, these crypto people. And because we are in this space, we are also the crypto people. I was in one office one day trying to market a crypto project to a man to invest. The man almost slapped me. Said his wife invested almost $70,000 in a blockchain project, and the money disappeared. After making investigation, we discovered that it's all those people that will ask you to bring two people and bring two people. Maybe you put $1 and you make percentage every week, right? We discovered that the wife invested in Ponzi. So how can we avert this problem? Is to do what? Is to create awareness. Massive, letting the people know. If you see XYZ person or XYZ brand coming, and the brand says, do this or do this, know that it's not blockchain people. These are Ponzi. So that's the reason why we started BCAT 2019. 2019, we recorded over 5,000, trying to go from one location to another. Then 2020, we didn't do it because of COVID. 2021, we started to re-strategize. How can we make it more bigger? So that's the reason why the last one we did, we have over 7,000 people in one roof. So how do we pass the message across to them? And what did they learn? Second problem is, in Nigeria, there is something we call Yahoo. Cybercrime. The guys that scam people online, right? So, and most of these guys always they learn to use crypto to scam people. And once you are in this space, once any fraud happen that use that particular thing, they generalize everything to everybody. As in, I've been arrested, I can't count how many times, right? I have to come and explain. Sometimes it will take 3 hours educating the police that this is like this and it's like this. So the cybercrime guys, what we did was we told them that the same energy, the same tool, you use internet, you use phone, you use laptop, right, to scam people. You can still use that same energy to learn web development. You can still use that same passion Because it's not easy for you to scam someone. You have to convince somebody to give you money. It's not easy. So that same experience and that same skill that you're using to scam, you can use it to be a project manager. You can use it to be a Telegram moderator. You can use it to be, product designer. That same energy. So that is one of the things that BCAT did, and he received a whole lot of positive answers. So because of Uganda, it gave us a whole lot of stuff when we want to start, because for you to get inspired is not easy, because we saw what happened 2018 is very big. We said we can do this back there. So we decided to say, where are we going to do our next BCAT? Because in Nigeria, I think, can I say we are successful? Yes. So if you have 7,000 people in one roof, I think it's the biggest gathering of blockchain ever. 7,000 people in one roof that let's take it out of Nigeria. So the first place my mind went to was Uganda. So I contacted my friend. We met in Dubai around June. I told him, why can't let's do this in here. He said, okay, fine. Then after making some inquiries, I also discovered that the problem we have in Nigeria is almost the same thing here. You have Ponzi schemes. You have people telling you to bring $1, your money will be $20. At the end of the day, they disappear with the whole money. Right? Now, how can we let a large number of people know that most of the things they invest in is scam? Is by creating a massive blockchain and cryptocurrency awareness. Right? Just like when the UN is trying to fight HIV. They create HIV awareness for you to know what to do. Right? Because most of the people that patronize those Ponzi guys, those sites, you can't find them in this kind of gathering. They can't come. But the Ponzi people spend a whole lot of money in promotion, in adverts, in promising you that bring 2 people, will give you X, Y, Z, right? So why can't we invest that same amount of money so that the government will also understand that what we are doing is also what is legit? So that is one of the reasons why I'm here, sir. So thank you, and I hope to be working with all of you in the future. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bonatoni. And enjoy your time in Uganda. Yes. Okay. I think we're now going to come to an end. Really, thank you once again, CaptoSavvy, for hosting us. Thank you, great panelists, for giving knowledge to the people. I'd like to just mention that this team is available. If you have any further questions, feel at liberty to engage them directly. And Reggie and team, thank you once again for hosting this blockchain innovation program. Asante sana.
Thank you so much for our panelists. I'd like to invite our CEO, CaptoSavvy, to give us the closing remarks for this event. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you. Another round of applause for the panel. Having this excellent panel was very intentional. And the reason was for young developers, entrepreneurs like you, to get a glimpse of what the future can be. But also what they don't say is the amount of work that they've invested in their several different enterprises. Recently, I bumped into an old friend. I was leaving the office at 1 a.m. in the morning, and he said, "You remind me of CK because he used to leave his Intenda office at midnight." So that's the kind of work that most of these successful entrepreneurs don't mention. And I'd like to say, in as much as there's this whole crypto talk, I'd like to say that learning or earning a core developer skill is a hedge against all this speculation in the crypto space. And so that's what we are focusing on at the Blockchain Innovation Program with our partners, to impart the right skill, the right mindset. And the other thing also is that we mentioned we'll be having several periodic meetups in the program. And people like these will be invited to attend those meetups for those who make it to the 50 that we are looking at. So this is just a glimpse of what's yet to happen. Partners like these are very important, integrating with the likes of Refactory, who've done a lot of good work in creating the right Web 2.0 developers. We hope to take it on and from there and introduce the developers that they've nurtured into the Web3 ecosystem. So thank you, Refactory, the Innovation Village, for providing us an avenue to tap into your resources and talent. To the rest of the entrepreneurs, as you've seen, that's the end game, hence the integration with the Block Dojo in London, to pick the best for a 12-week accelerator program. But in addition, like I said, we have a long-term goal of creating our own capacity to support innovators, not just with money, but with the right information and skills. So the closing window for the applications is 19th September, starting today. Visit the website, bip.capitalsurvey.pro. It's a very seamless process to apply. And I look forward to receiving the first 50 in the first cohort. Thank you so much for making it. Thank you to our great panel, David, Kwame, Edlin, Lillian, and CK. And you're still around. You can always interact with them after here. But most importantly, do make it to the 50. This is a regional project. I'll be flying to Nairobi next week to interest another group of very talented young developers. So it's not going to be easy, but those who make it, I think you'll derive a lot of value from the ecosystem that we hope to build. Thank you, and have a blessed weekend.
Before we go, thank you so much. It's not good habit to speak after the boss has spoken, but a key announcement. Those of you who did not have breakfast, Damali is going to be giving out the coupons. I think we're going line by line. So make sure that, but if you got breakfast, you will have to wait a little bit so that those who did not get are able to be served first. And then we can have a good chat after this.
Can I have Damali and Elton? These are some of the people that we work with at Capital Survey. Would like to take a group picture with the panelists. For the of you, we have a lot of break available. Do take advantage of it.
Camera, yes? Okay, it's here. Please, the village has asked that those of you, please do not go without partaking in the meal that has been served, so that you can enjoy the stay here. All our panelists are available. Those of you who have questions that have not been answered, you are most welcome to approach any of the panelists, ask your questions so that it can be answered, especially for the young developers. this has been the Blockchain Innovation Program launch. And those of you who want to apply, there are these little boxes with the QR code.